Guys, we're back for another video. This is gonna be my top likes and dislikes of a BMW 5 Series. It's my 535 2015 Xdrive, all that nice stuff. So this is my car, right? I bought it 6 or 7 months ago, and since we're on the outside, we might as well just go over my first like, which is the exterior. I think it looks great. I think for, people can't or don't realize that this car is like, this design, this body style originally came out in 2011 and carried on to 2016. It's a very timeless design. I mean, down to even like the headlights with the daytime running light up there. There's actually another one right here that I turned off because it was the amber ones, and I like to have all white lights when I'm driving, constantly. No, of course you still have the amber flashing light back there, but the LED was an amber LED. I turned that off. But it's just a timeless design, people. Like, look at that. But like rims, 19-inch rims on the car look great. The car is just overall a very good looking car. So that's my first like. Second like is the build quality. Everything you touch in this car is high quality. Like, it just feels substantial. Door handles, the pull, the latching mechanism, substantial. The weight of the door, substantial. Climb inside of the car. Oh, yes, sir. The thunk of the door when you close it, substantial. This is the same size as my BMW, or my Nissan Altima. But this just feels more substantial. Everything you touch just like feels like heavier. It's like grabbing like an object. How do I describe this? It's like picking something up and you can tell it's cheap because it's very light compared to like a heavier version of it. In our minds, that tells us it's kind of like cheaper because it's lighter. It must not be made as well. That's how this car is. Everything's just substantial in this car. Even the steering, the heft, the way it drives. This car only weighs a couple hundred pounds more than my Altima, from what I understand. But again, it feels more planted. It feels heavier, and it feels more substantial. And that's what I love about this car. That's part of the German BMW take, is that their cars just feel a little bit more feeling, if that makes sense. Third like of this car is the performance. The performance for a 535 is excellent. Again, this car, I have a Draggy, my brother has a Draggy, and we've gotten this car to 5.2 without any modifications to it. That's very good for a car this size. I mean, you look at a Maxima does it in like 6.2 with the V6, right? 6.2, 6.3, which I used to think was fast. The Charger GT does it in like 6.2, and from what I understand, the RT with the V8 still does it in like 5.5. So for a car this size to be on par even quicker than that, that's very nice. And they're very low key. That's what the thing about German cars are. Like, you got the guy with the Charger RT, and it's, big rims and big brakes and, exhaust and all that stuff. And you have a family car like this, and it's dead silent, but when you give it gas, it pulls hard. Normally, this car actually has enough power for me where I normally drive in eco mode, except for when I went to New York, because they're all monsters and savages, and they're insane. So I have to keep it in sport mode so I can pass and drive like a New Yorker would when needed. But the performance is excellent on this car. I mean, I've driven in the snow. It's not my Jeep Grand Cherokee. My 20-year-old Jeep still will demolish this in the snow. But for an all-wheel drive vehicle, it never got stuck. I've put it in some questionable predicaments. Let's put it that way. I've put the car in some teeter-totter, weird angles, and I've pushed the Xdrive. I wish I actually recorded it when I did it this one night. But I was like pushing the Xdrive. I felt like driving sports TV, like, one wheel had no like traction, basically. The rear wheel had no traction. The front two wheels had traction, and whatever it was. And the car, like, you could feel it shifting power around. And it would spin a little bit, and then finally it kicked where it pushed all the power it needed to that rear back left wheel. And that wheel pushed me forward and got me out. And I was in like 8 inches of snow. So again, driving, powertrain, excellent. Shifts, butter smooth. Driving in eco normal mode, you don't feel the shift. Putting in power mode, you feel them because they start banging off the gears left and right. Fourth like is we're gonna sum this all up in one. Is just the interior and the technology that this car has. Again, this is a 2015 car, and it has auto brake hold, which is just now coming out on cars. Right, you have parking sensors front and rear. A lot of cars have rear parking sensors. A lot of GM cars had them, but to have a front parking sensors, super nice. And the way they design the parking sensors is also great. You have the heads-up display up there. You guys can kind of see that little white thing flickering. That's my heads-up display. It shows the speed limit, shows the speed. It'll show the navigation, and it'll, in my eyes, it blows it up to about a 10-inch like window. It'll be like this size up there, one that shows all the information it wants to. It's super nice. All the buttons feel nice. They feel fantastic. Everything you touch in this car feels fantastic. All the switches feel very substantial. You have, so this is the rear camera. Rear parking sensors right there, rear camera, and then if you click down on this, you get your 360 camera, which I discovered on accident. I didn't know I had a 360 camera until I pushed that once on accident, and it still will show you where your lines are going to go when you're turning, which is super nice. No front camera, but to show you the quality of this 360 camera, you can see like oil spots on the ground and a crack and like a piece of rust stain on the floor right there. So it's very good. And they're all the same quality, which is super nice. Not like, you know, the rear camera was a little bit better quality than the side cameras. No, it's all really good quality. And then finally I have a third set of cameras, which are in the front bumpers. This, when I first got it, I was confused. I'm like, why do I need this? What is this? They're in the front bumpers facing out that way. Then I realized what they were for. It's like, say you're parked right now and there's a car next to me on each side, and I backed in the spot and I'm trying to pull out and I can't see past me. Right, there's a car right here, and I'm trying to roll out of a tight area, and I can't see past the car next to me. You kind of roll out a little bit, but this you can actually see out because the camera is like 4 or 5 feet in front of me on the left. So the camera's seeing 4 feet in front of me to the left, so I don't have to roll that far. This was amazing in New York. Driving in Brooklyn and all these Staten Island, all these little tight areas, and you're going on all these little one-ways. Having this was amazing because I could actually see before I actually pulled down and to like stick the front half of my car out into the intersection to see if no one's coming. So that was great. Interior, it's nice, it's quality, it's leather. I have the Napa leather interior. It's very supple, very nice. Everything is nice. I like that these are actually plastic up here because you touch them and they're easier to clean. Power sunroof. Power seats, even the headrest is power. Yeah, everything you touch in this car is just like quality, and it's just, again, substantial. It feels nice. It's very nice. And we're like number 5. I don't even number these half the time because I just lose count. The Harman Kardon sound system in this car, phenomenal. Okay, we're back. The GoPro decided to kill itself. So it said it was too hot and it turned off, which is hilarious because it's like 66 outside right now. But GoPro things, you know, I don't know why it does that, but GoPro things. So we're gonna put that over here to cool down a little bit and charge. It was at like 40% anyway, so I don't know. But so Harman Kardon sound system, I had the Bose system in my Nissan Altima, and I thought that was good. This blows it out of the water. You have like a sub under each driver and passenger seat. The punch, the clarity, the lows, the mids, the highs, it's just so crisp. A lot of people have commented like, dude, your sound system is very crisp. Like when my friends plug in or put on the same song in my car versus when they listen to it in their car, they're like, dude, you just hear more. It's hard to describe, but you just hear more. Which is super nice. What else? I mean, like, again, like everything in this car has 5 12-volt power outlets, which is nice. You have one USB port in here, then you have one power outlet in there. I love these double opening hinged. I think this is a smart design. I can run my cables through here perfectly fine. You got one right there. You have one under the center console. I'm assuming it's for like a radar detector or something. But my cable was the way I set it up right here, my cable is too short to reach it. So sometimes I plug in like a phone cable back there, but it's right tucked under here. You have one right here. This is the one I actually use for over there. And then you have one in the trunk. So you have 5 12-volt outlets. My Altima had 2, and every time people in the back needed to charge, they had to run a cable from the front to the back. And then when I had to use an air compressor once, I had to plug it into the front one and then run the cable, and hopefully it reached out to the back wheel, which is I think why you have one in the trunk, so you can put an air compressor. So that's been fine. But yeah, I mean, the tech in this car is great. The iDrive is amazing. It's excellent for a car that's this old to have a system that's that intuitive. Just genius. Gauge cluster, great. Everything's just great when you touch it. Everything just feels supple and nice and soft in this car. But now we get to our dislikes, and this is where it gets a little sus. So let's see if the GoPro will turn back on, because it might make it a little bit easier if you do it with the GoPro. And we're back with the GoPro. So let's put this back to auto. Oh no, don't do that. Okay. So now we're gonna go over our dislikes of the dislikes of this car. And my first dislike actually wasn't that big of an issue until I started driving for a while. And it was actually twofold. So it's dislike A and B of part. Dislike 1, A and B. Dislike 1 is that there's no tint up here to block out the sun. My Nissan Altima has tint. My Jeep has tint. Every car I've ever had has tint. And yes, you have visors, the tint's better, right? Especially when I pull the visor over here to block the sun on this side, but even though this window's tinted, I mean, it still doesn't reach, which is stupid. It's part of another dislike. It doesn't extend. But I was driving in New York, right, for example, and my hand right here, you'd see the sunline of my hand getting cooked. This is all getting cooked, and then the rest of my arm was fine. And then the sun hitting me from this side, it was hitting my arm, but it was very light because I have tints on the sides. I was getting cooked in that car, or in this car. My chest, my stomach, region down here, all getting cooked. The line down here, just mutilated. And I had the AC on, and it just couldn't keep up. I was getting cooked, and my passengers were getting cooked. A lot of people commented on it. So, dude, it's hot in this car. And again, I had the AC set to 60. It was the first time I ever actually forced it off auto and tried to control it myself to get something out of it. And when you sit there and you drive from Staten Island to Manhattan, it's 45 minutes, and you have the AC on 60 the entire time. Now, in my Altima, when I had the AC set, I kid you not, that car would be set to 70, 72 the entire time. I don't care if I get in the car on a 100-degree day. People don't realize this. When you crank your AC down to 60 or 55, it won't make colder air come out when it's already 100 degrees in the car. It's gonna when it's at 70, it's still gonna blow the coldest air it can kick out, and then once it gets to 70, it'll slow down and you calm down a little bit. So I'd set it, and that car never had an issue. For 5 years, just 70, 72 degrees. That was my temperature in the car. If I had people in the car and they wanted a cooler temperature, we'd figure it out. This car, sitting at 60, still suffering. The rear vent's on, front vent's on. I had this little switch up here, this thing right here. I had that set to cold, and I'm still cooking. Everyone is still cooking in this car. Right now, it's perfectly fine because it's 66 out, but it was just it felt so wrong. And it bothered me, and it was killing me. And it killed me, in fact, so much that this windshield's actually tinted now. I took it over to a buddy. I'll throw in a video right after this. We tinted a 70% ceramic tint to stop the heat from coming in, because you have the ultraviolet rays, which most tints stop. But then you have the infrared heat that you feel. So this is all tinted. He did a phenomenal job. Shout out to Tint Studios. So this is all tinted, super nice. And driving in the sun yesterday, I didn't feel anything. The dash felt cooler. Everything felt cooler in the car. So it's working. It's phenomenal. I'll put a video of that in right now. Nice. Excellent, excellent. Hope you guys enjoyed that video, but now we're back. My next dislike, I guess, on this car, you know, that was the big one for me. That was the big issue for me. And these are going to be smaller, trivial issues. First of all, central locking on this car, I hate this. I'm sure there's a reason BMW puts it right over here. I'm sure they're geniuses, right? They know what they're doing. I hate it. I always reach for unlock. My people always reach for unlock when I have passengers in the car. They reach to unlock the door. If I'm outside the car, I need to run it over and fast click the unlock button for whatever reason. Say sometimes I leave the key right here, so if I pull on the door handle, it won't unlock the car. So I got to unlock it manually. I got to reach over into the car and actually push it instead of just tapping the button right here. That bothers me. And I don't know why. I don't know why. And then on top of that, like half the time when you want to leave the car, you got to pull the door handle twice. So like it confuses people. I've gotten used to it, but again, this weekend I had a million different new passengers in my car, and they'd pull the door handle and be like, dude, why isn't it opening? I'm like, pull it again. They'd be like, oh, unlock the car, and they're looking for an unlock switch, but there is no unlock switch. So minor inconvenience. Once you learn the car, it becomes a lot easier, but again, just for new people in the car, it was kind of weird. Otherwise, I mean, like, there's not much else. No, this is a mid-sized car. Oh, here's a dangerous issue I have. Okay, we can't forget about this one. This is number like 3, I think. This is very dangerous. I don't know why. So again, I've driven a million different cars, right? And I've driven cars where they have this design floor pedals, where they have one mounted to the actual floor versus the floating design. And I don't know why, but in this car, I've complained about it, family has complained about it, my friends have complained about it, who've driven the car. So, let's get in my normal driving position. This is my normal driving position, right? So, I'm driving along, I want to hit the brake. Okay, go on. Driving along, want to hit the brake. So normally when I hit the brake, I don't know if you guys can see this, but keep an eye like on this smaller hash right here, the smaller line. I never like go past that, right? So when I brake, I'm only using like 20% of my foot. The rest of it's just off to the side. But as you can see down here, it's off to the side onto the gas pedal. And you hear that, right? So hold on. Right, so I'll be driving along, and in 90% of driving, because I don't have to slam on the brakes, it doesn't bother me. But there have been times when I went to reach to brake hard, I'm pushing on the brake, and you can hear the car revving, right? You got to be very cognizant to move your foot completely over. Like I even lifted my foot off the floor. It's like the most like erotic slamming on the brakes just to get to the brakes. Otherwise, if I'm driving along and I'm just like braking, and I want to brake harder, see that? I'm pushing on the brake, but the car's revving, right? And it's because the edge of my foot's catching on the gas pedal. I don't know why. They're like so close together. And I'm not the only person that complained about it. I've had family in the car complain about it. I've had friends in the car complain about it. I have no idea. Like you have to change the way you rest your feet or something. I've had to like try to adjust, and I'm trying, but it's just kind of weird. But I've been trying to like adjust how I drive. Also for me, this dead pedal's kind of far for my seating position, so I end up resting my foot on the hood opener. But you know, that's, and I don't know why. I'm sure not a lot of people are complaining about it because I'm sure they would have changed it by now if it was putting people's lives in danger. But for me and for people that have ridden in this car, they've complained about it and said these pedals are too close together. For me, again, I showed you guys, it will rev and it'll try to pull. And sometimes the car knows, and the car will be like gas and brake pushed, and we'll just pick the brakes. Most cars should do that. Sometimes at lower speeds, it'll still, it's like your brake boost in the car, basically. It'll still try to pull forward. which is kind of sus. So that's a kind of a scary issue. Another issue is, okay, so we currently have the car set to my seating position, right? This is my normal seating position, right? Okay, hold on. Just to show you guys for reference. I normally keep both my seats all the way back, right? Okay, this one's all the way back. Look how much space, and it gets tighter the farther you go because of this, right? Got like 4 fingers of space. Where are you supposed to put your feet, right? Now this is my seating position, so we're gonna go sit behind myself just to show you guys. For whatever reason, with this being a mid-size car, in my Altima, whenever I had passengers, I never had to adjust my seat. I could still drive the way I wanted, and people behind me could sit and have room. The same with this seat. Now, in this car, it's very tight. So like, there's not a lot of room to like for your feet to go. Like, I can't lift my toes up, right? And like, I'm not like, if I want to sit comfortably the way I want to, what's helping me right now is these divots, but also like this thing's kind of pushing into my shins right now if I move forward. So I'm not really that comfortable right now in the back seat of my car with me sitting here. It actually feels kind of tight back here. Once you close the door for a mid-sized car, this feels kind of tight. And it's not helping that there's no room down there, and you can't really it's just tight back here. Like, I'm sitting so upright right now. I'm sitting like so upright right now. I'm just in this car, and it just feels tight back here. Now, like, look up back here. You got like 4 inches of leg space, and it gets tighter back here. You can't put people back there. The seat, the entire time I was driving, I had to pull the seat forward. And yes, they have a lot of room, but the reason why I don't like pulling the seat forward, I'll show you guys. Oh, it's also so hard to climb out of. Is because when I drive, I want to be able to see. When I pulled the seat forward, now I have people right up here blocking my field of view when I'm trying to like merge and stuff like that. Now they're kind of sitting right here. I hate that. I always keep my seat back so I can see when I'm driving. Now, once you pull the seat up to give them room, you can't see anything. Again, it's an issue that I have with this car. But again, compared to my Altima, I've never had to pull the seat. I've never had to move the seat forward to fit people. The seat always stayed in its normal spot, and people could sit back there. And in my driving position, people could sit behind me, and it was fine. It always worked out. So again, it's another minor inconvenience of the car. You get used to it, but like, again, I noticed it on a road trip the most when I started getting people in my car left and right. Otherwise, I mean, those are my main issues with the car. Like, I mean, I don't have anything else, honestly. It's small issues, aside from the brake pedal and the gas pedal being very close. I think that's more of a personal issue, because I'm sure if it was a real issue with a lot more people, BMW would fix it. But it is an issue on the forums for these and the X1s and the X3s. People have complained that they're too close together. But, I mean, it's still there, so they haven't changed it, so it's not that big of a deal. Like Nissan's transmissions. I don't know. Otherwise, the car has been great. I mean, I can't complain. The car has, it's done what it's supposed to do. It's never let me down. You sign up for German, and this is what you get. You get a lot of pluses and a couple, which is fine. Let's go into sport mode. Let's do a little bit of a poll for you guys to end this video. But yeah, I mean, those are my top likes and dislikes. Again, a lot more likes than dislikes, as you guys can see. I don't know what that was. Okay, guys. Okay, people. Okay, people, we're gonna pull. I love that it goes right up to red line. It'll go right up to red line when you give it gas. There's some cars in front of us right here. Hold on, people, hold on. This road's so beat up. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. This is the BMW. Great car. Get one. Make sure it has a maintenance record on it. Make sure you know what you're doing, and enjoy the car for what it is. But thanks for tuning in, and screw GoPro.